Our 10th wedding anniversary, a milestone, a decade of shared life, 2 beautiful kids, a house, 2 dogs, and the kind of comfortable, quiet love that people often mistake for boredom. I always told people, we're not exciting, we're stable. That stability was my security blanket. My husband David was my safe harbor. He was reliable, kind, and completely devoted to me and the children. Or so I believed until 10 days ago. We celebrated our anniversary exactly how we always did. A fancy dinner out, followed by us exchanging gifts. David gave me a delicate sapphire pendant, our birthstone. I gave him a vintage watch he'd been eyeing for months. Later, after the kids were finally asleep, we were curled up on the sofa talking about how fast the time had gone. It was perfect, a perfect lie. The trouble started the next morning. David's laptop was still open on the kitchen counter, where he'd been ordering tickets for our upcoming family vacation. He'd stepped out to get coffee from the corner shop, leaving me alone in the pre-dawn quiet. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. I just needed to check the weather for the vacation spot, and his computer was right there. I clicked on his browser, but instead of taking me to the weather app, it landed me in his email inbox, specifically his personal Gmail. I was about to close it when I saw a notification on the side panel. It was a little number 1 next to the drafts folder, a single, unread draft. My curiosity got the better of me. Who leaves a draft email unread for long? It was probably a work email he forgot to send. I clicked on it, half annoyed at the clutter. The email was titled simply, "To Claire." Claire, that's my sister. My sister Claire and I are opposites in every way. I'm the reserved, practical one. She's the spontaneous, artistic, wild child. We love each other, but we have a complicated history. A lot of competitiveness growing up and some deep, unspoken resentments that mostly faded as we got older. Claire is single, lives in the city, and is the fun aunt who shows up with exotic gifts. The email was dated 9 years ago, a year before David and I got married. It was lengthy, very lengthy. I started reading, feeling a slight twinge of guilt, but the simple fact that he had an unsent draft to my sister, preserved for a decade, gripped me. The first few lines were innocuous. "Claire, I've been trying to write this for weeks. You know how hard this is for me." Then it got worse, a lot worse. "I can't do this. I cannot marry Anna knowing that every time I look at her, I'm seeing you. I know this is messed up, and I know I should have said something years ago, but I fell for you the second Anna introduced us. You were funny, you were reckless, you were everything Anna isn't." I tried to push it away. I tried to focus on Anna, on our stability, but every time we're all together, at a family dinner or a holiday, I watch you. I watch how you laugh, how you talk with your hands, and it breaks me. I'm marrying Anna in 3 months, and I can't stop myself. But I need you to know, if there was ever a chance, if you had ever looked at me the way I look at you, I would have thrown everything away. You are the great, devastating love of my life, and I am walking down the aisle to marry your sister, and I will live a happy, secure, utterly hollow life, because it's not with you. I love you, Claire. I always have. And I always will. I stopped breathing. The kitchen was suddenly too bright, too cold. My hands, still clutching the edges of the laptop, started to shake uncontrollably. It felt like I had been punched in the stomach, then had my heart ripped out and stomped on. 10 years. 10 years of marriage. 10 years of stability. 10 years of thinking I was enough. And all of it was built on a lie so deep, so monstrous, that it dated back to before our wedding day. He didn't just have a passing crush. He was devastatingly in love with my sister. He saw me as the consolation prize, the safe harbor, the stable option, the way to an utterly hollow life that was not with the woman he truly desired. The date was the worst part, 9 years ago. He wrote this when I was busy planning seating charts, picking out a dress, dreaming of our future. He wrote this, and then he put on a tuxedo, looked me in the eyes, and promised me forever, all while wishing he was marrying Claire. My mind raced. Did he ever send it? It was in the drafts folder. That means he wrote it, saved it, but never hit send. The logical, tiny voice in my head tried to latch onto that. He didn't send it. He chose you. But the rest of the message was too damning. He didn't choose me. He settled for me. He was still carrying this torch, this hidden, terrible love for 10 years. I scrolled down quickly through the email one more time, my eyes searching for any sign of a response, anything that suggested Claire knew. Nothing. Just that single, horrible, unsent declaration. I heard the front door open, the jingle of David's keys. Panic seized me. I slammed the laptop shut just as he walked into the kitchen, smelling of fresh air and coffee. "Morning, honey," he said, setting the travel mugs down. He looked happy, innocent, the perfect husband. "Why are you up so early?" "Jet lag," I managed, my voice a dry, brittle sound, "thinking about the trip." He walked over and kissed the top of my head. The simple, familiar gesture, which used to feel like love, now felt like a violation. "Go back to bed, you earned a lie-in," he chuckled, completely oblivious to the silent nuclear bomb I had just discovered on his desktop. I walked to the bedroom, but sleep was impossible. I sat on the edge of the bed, the sapphire pendant still around my neck, feeling its weight like a lead chain. I had to know the full extent of the lie. Did Claire know? Had he ever said anything to her? Did they share secret glances across the dinner table? I was a detective now, a very desperate one. The anniversary was officially over. The excavation of my marriage had begun. I needed to see how David interacted with Claire next, and thankfully, I didn't have to wait long. Family dinner was scheduled for Sunday. The 3 days leading up to Sunday dinner were a master class in psychological torture. I was polite, functional, and utterly broken inside. Every glance David gave me, every compliment he paid, every hug he offered felt like a meticulously crafted lie. I saw the drafted email everywhere, etched onto the walls, floating in my coffee, hidden in the lyrics of the radio songs. My focus was now entirely on observation. I was searching for the clues he mentioned in that horrible draft. I watched how he interacted with Claire over the phone. He called her twice to coordinate transportation for our parents. They talked about logistics, nothing more. But I listened with the acute, panicked hearing of a gazelle that senses a predator. Was that too long of a pause? Was his laugh too soft? Did he say her name with too much tenderness? My brain was actively constructing a conspiracy where none might exist, but the foundation of the email was too solid to ignore. Sunday arrived and my anxiety was crippling. My stomach was a knot of ice. This wasn't just a family dinner, it was a stakeout of my own marriage. We arrived at my parents' house. The usual chaos. My mother trying to control everyone, my dad watching the game, and the kids immediately running off. And there was Claire, sitting on the sofa, scrolling through her phone, looking effortlessly cool in a vintage dress. David greeted her with a warm, familiar hug, a brotherly hug. But in my hypersensitive state, I saw everything differently. I saw his hand linger on her shoulder for a microsecond too long. I saw the way their eyes met, quick, shared, familiar. "Anna, look at the pendant David got you," Claire said, pointing at the sapphire. "It's beautiful, very David." "Yes, it is," I managed, my smile tight. Did she know he chose sapphires because they matched the blue in her eyes? My paranoia was working overtime. I watched them throughout the evening. David and Claire sat across from each other at the dinner table. I watch how you laugh, how you talk with your hands. Every time Claire told a funny story, David would watch her, a genuine, delighted smile on his face. When she got animated using her hands to describe a disastrous art exhibit, David's eyes were locked on her. He wasn't looking at her the way you look at a sister. He was looking at her the way I wished he would look at me, with deep admiration, with a hidden, profound understanding. At one point, my mother was telling a boring story about gardening. David caught Claire's eye from across the table. They exchanged a brief, subtle eye roll, a private joke, a shared moment of relief from the parental chatter. It was tiny, insignificant, but in my mind it screamed, "We are connected in a way she isn't." My stability was eroding minute by minute. I became obsessed with their hands. David's hands were on the table. Claire's hands were gesturing. They never touched, not accidentally, not once. But the tension in the space between them felt like a charged wire. Later, David and I were loading the dishwasher in the kitchen. Claire walked in, carrying a stack of plates. "Need help?" she asked David. "Nah, we got it," he replied, giving her a quick glance before turning back to the sink. "You guys are the best," Claire said easily, and she left the room. It was nothing, a casual exchange between in-laws, but the whole time my stomach was churning. David was a master actor. He had buried this secret so deep that 10 years of everyday life had been a performance. The lack of any obvious outward signs of an affair was, paradoxically, the most terrifying thing. It meant his feelings for her were purely internal, spiritual, and therefore unbreakable. If they were having a secret physical affair, it would be gross but manageable. This was worse. This was an 8-year-old declaration of soulmate-level love. I couldn't live with the ambiguity. I needed to know if Claire knew about this email, about his feelings, or if she was truly innocent. That night, back home, I waited until David was asleep. I needed to investigate the drafts folder again. I had to know if there was any digital paper trail. I quietly opened his laptop, navigated back to Gmail. I expected to see the draft right where I left it. It was gone. The drafts folder was empty. My breath caught in my throat. He hadn't just accidentally deleted it. He must have seen the open laptop, noticed the last active session was in his email, and checked the drafts. He knew I had seen it. Or, he strongly suspected. The panic was replaced by a cold wave of certainty. He was moving to cover his tracks. I frantically checked the trash folder. Empty. He must have permanently deleted it. He knew. And now the clock was ticking. I was no longer the secret keeper. I was the exposed threat. I knew I couldn't confront him about the email. He would just deny ever writing it, claim the laptop was hacked, or turn it back on me. Why were you snooping in my personal email? I needed to secure the proof. I needed to know for sure if Claire was involved, because if she was, the betrayal was complete. I remembered something David had mentioned about an old external hard drive stored in his study, where he backed up all his personal files before we bought the current laptop. It was a long shot, but if the draft was deleted on the current device, a years-old backup might still hold the original file. I crept out of bed. The excavation continued, deeper into the ruins of my marriage. Finding that external hard drive was like searching for a single grain of sand on a vast beach, but I was desperate. I searched David's study in the dead of night, using only the glow of my phone screen. I checked filing cabinets, old shoe boxes, even the back of his bookshelf. Finally, tucked behind a stack of old engineering textbooks, I found it. A dusty, beige plastic brick, exactly the old model he used back when we first moved in. I carried it back to the kitchen, plugged it into the laptop, and held my breath. The laptop whirred to life, loading the years-old files. I navigated to his old documents folder. I found the email backup subfolder, and there it was, a massive file labeled Gmail_backup_2015. This was 5 months before our wedding. If the unsent email existed anywhere, it was in here. I spent the next hour wrestling with outdated file formats and obscure code. My hands were shaking, my eyes burning with strain and fatigue. I felt like a criminal, hacking into the private life of the man who slept 5 feet away. But the truth was, he was the criminal. I was just retrieving what belonged to me. The painful reality. Finally, the email archive loaded. I used the search function, typing in one simple, devastating word, Claire. 2 results popped up. The first was the draft I had already read. To Claire, you are the great, devastating love of my life. Dated 9 years ago. The proof was secured. I quickly took a dozen photos of the screen with my phone, time-stamped undeniable evidence. The second search result, however, was new, and it was worse. This one was labeled Sent, last time, D. It was dated 3 years after our wedding. My blood ran cold. The first draft had been a declaration of unrequited love, an internal struggle he kept to himself. This, a reply, indicated a conversation. It meant Claire was not only aware, but they had shared a moment, a secret years into my marriage. I clicked on it. The email from David was short, terse, and completely devoid of emotion, which somehow made it more devastating. Claire, I know what we said. I know how much it meant to both of us, but you have to stop bringing it up. You need to focus on your own life. I chose stability. I chose Anna. We can't keep doing this. It's unfair to her, and it's killing me. Forget the cabin. There is no last time anymore. This is it. Stop contacting me about this. D, I gasped. A small, choked sound that I immediately muffled with my hand. I know what we said. It meant so much to both of us. Forget the cabin. There is no last time anymore. It wasn't just a secret love. It was a physical affair. It was a shared moment, a secret location, the cabin, and it was happening years into our marriage, long after he had promised me fidelity. I sank into the kitchen chair, the metallic taste of betrayal filling my mouth. The hollow life he wrote about wasn't the result of not being with Claire. It was the result of him trying to end the affair with her. He wasn't just in love with my sister. He had slept with my sister, repeatedly. And then, at some point 3 years after our wedding, he decided he couldn't handle the guilt and broke it off. He didn't confess. He didn't come clean. He just decided to stop cheating, and then he let me continue believing he was the loving, faithful husband. The pain was so profound it became numb. I didn't cry. I just felt a fierce, burning focus. I went back to the sent folder and searched again. The last time was the last communication from David about it. But what about Claire's side? Where was her original email, the one he was replying to? I checked the inbox archive. I searched for emails from Claire's address. Dozens of family logistics emails popped up, but nothing about the affair. She must have been smart enough to delete her incriminating messages, or perhaps they communicated outside of email, text messages, burner phones. But I had enough. I had the two crucial pieces: his initial emotional confession of love and his cold, hard confirmation of the physical affair. Forget the cabin. There is no last time anymore. I copied the evidence onto my personal encrypted cloud drive. I then securely wiped the hard drive backup file, put the beige box back in its place, and returned to the bedroom. David was still sleeping peacefully, utterly unaware that his stable life had just been exposed as a toxic swamp. I looked at the sapphire pendant around my neck. It was no longer a gift of love. It was a token of deceit, a pretty little distraction from the profound darkness beneath. I ripped it off my neck, the chain snapping easily, and threw it across the room. I knew my next step had to be Claire. I had to know if she was a victim of his manipulation or an active participant in my ruin. I had to hear her side before I set fire to David's life. I needed the final puzzle piece before the total explosion. I decided to call her the next morning, not about family logistics, but about the truth. The moment I woke up, David was already gone, having left a cheerful note about a golf game with clients. Another lie, another hour to execute my plan. I called Claire. My voice was flat, devoid of emotion. "Claire, I need to see you, now. It's important. Don't tell Mom or Dad, and don't tell David." She hesitated, sensing the unusual tone. "Anna? What's wrong? You sound weird." "It's about David," I said, keeping it vague but impactful. "Meet me at the park near your apartment. The one with the gazebo. 30 minutes. I knew she wouldn't say no. Claire is many things, but she isn't a coward when it comes to family drama. I arrived at the park first. The morning air was crisp and the sun was shining, a cruel contrast to the storm raging inside me. When Claire walked up, she looked concerned, immediately launching into rapid-fire questions. "Anna, what's going on? Is David okay? Are the kids okay?" I held up my hand, stopping her. I pulled out my phone and navigated to the photograph of David's unsent email draft. To Claire. "You are the great, devastating love of my life." I shoved the screen toward her face. "Don't say anything yet. Just read this." Claire took the phone, her eyes scanning the text. The color drained from her face. Her casual, cool demeanor evaporated, replaced by a deep, terrifying shock. She looked exactly the way David had looked when I first caught him. She slowly lowered the phone. She didn't deny it. She just looked at the ground. "You found that?" she whispered, her voice thick with shame. I thought he deleted that years ago." "He thought so too," I said, my voice dangerously even. "He wrote that a year before our wedding." "Did you know he felt that way?" Claire nodded slowly, tears welling in her eyes. "He told me. Not in an email, face to face. He told me he was miserable, that he loved me, but he felt trapped by the engagement and the life he'd built. He said I was too wild, too unstable for a real future, but I was his soulmate." Soulmate. That word cut deeper than any knife. "And you?" I pressed. "Did you feel the same way?" "I don't know," she choked out, finally looking at me, her eyes pleading for understanding. "Anna, I was confused. He was my sister's fiancé, but he was everything I thought I wanted. Safe, successful, loving. And yes, for a while I thought I loved him too. It was a secret, twisted thing." I switched the photo on my phone. I showed her the second piece of evidence. Sent, last time, D. Forget the cabin. There is no last time anymore. This time, Claire flinched as if physically struck. Her face crumpled. "The cabin," I stated, not asking. 3 years into my marriage. You two had an affair." Claire couldn't speak. She just stood there, shaking her head, the tears finally overflowing. "It was only twice. Anna, I swear to God, we were so messed up. It happened on that ski trip the whole family took. He said he couldn't live like this, and I was drinking too much, and we just broke. Both times at that terrible rental cabin. The second time, he ended it. He said he was suffocating, that he had to choose his family. He wrote that email to stop me from pushing it again." "You were trying to start it again?" I felt a fresh wave of nausea. "I was a mess, Anna," Claire confessed, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "I was lonely, and he was the only man who ever looked at me like that. But when he cut it off, I got angry and desperate. I tried to contact him one last time, begging him. That's what he was replying to. After that, I stopped. I promised myself I would never cross that line again." I stared at my sister. The betrayal was real, deep, and shared. She had willingly slept with my husband, my stable David, at the expense of my entire life. But her confession, the shame, the pain, the raw honesty, felt genuine. It seemed David was the prime architect, weaving a web of misery for both of us. He made Claire feel like the passionate soulmate, and me feel like the comfortable wife. He was the one who had made the vows, and he was the one who broke them. "Did you ever think of telling me?" I asked, the final agonizing question. "Every day, Anna. Every single day." But he begged me not to. He said it would destroy our parents, destroy the kids, and that he chose you, that he was committed to being a better husband. I believed him. I hated the secret, but I thought I was protecting the family. "You weren't protecting the family, Claire. You were protecting him," I said, my voice heavy with disappointment. "Now it's over. I'm leaving him. I have the emails, the dates, and the confirmation of the affair." Claire looked up, terrified. "Anna, please don't tell Mom and Dad. It will destroy them, especially Dad. The shame will kill him." "That's David's problem, not mine," I replied, standing up. "My stability, my decade, was the price of your secret. You were an active participant in his lie. You don't get to dictate the terms of his downfall. Stay out of it, Claire. For now, our relationship is over too." I walked away, leaving her weeping by the gazebo. The air felt cleaner, heavier, but finally clear. I went straight home and called the divorce attorney. David's golf game was running long. "I need to file the papers tomorrow morning," I told the lawyer. "I have the proof of adultery, the dates, the location, and I have the full confession from the third party." The lawyer was thrilled. This made the case airtight. I spent the rest of the day preparing for David's return. I pulled out the children's photo albums, the wedding pictures, the anniversary cards, all the proof of the life he pretended to live. I packaged them all up along with the keys to the house. When David finally pulled into the driveway that evening, he was whistling. He walked in, smiling, expecting his routine. Instead, he found me standing in the center of the living room, surrounded by boxes, my face hard and cold. "Honey, you look much better." "Migraine gone?" "The migraine's gone, David." The sickness has been exposed. I dropped a manila envelope at his feet. Inside were the printed photos of the emails. He knelt down, picking up the envelope, his face contorting into the familiar expression of horror and defeat. He knew immediately that his life was over. The look he gave me wasn't of love or even regret. It was the look of a man who realized he had lost the ultimate security blanket. "I want you out of this house tonight," I commanded. "The divorce papers are being served in the morning. Don't call the kids. Don't call me. Call your lawyer. And maybe call Claire. You'll need her." David didn't scream or deny it. He just sat there on the floor, the printed emails scattered around him, his face slack with disbelief. He picked up the draft, the one he had saved and cherished for a decade, and read his own words. "You are the great, devastating love of my life." He finally looked up at me, his eyes wet. "Anna, please. It was years ago. It was a mistake. I loved you. I chose you. I deleted that email because I knew it was wrong. I never sent it. You saw that. I haven't done anything with Claire since then." "You only deleted it last week when you realized I saw your drafts folder," I countered, my voice flat. "And you said you loved me while writing that you would live an utterly hollow life with me. You didn't choose me, David. You chose stability. And you slept with my sister at the cabin 3 years into our marriage. Then you had the arrogance to tell her to stop contacting you so you could play the perfect family man." I pointed to the boxes of photos. "Take those. Take your watch. Take your memories. The house is mine. The stability you craved, it's gone. Because stability built on a foundation of betrayal is just an illusion waiting to collapse." He finally stood up, his face a mess of tears and snot. He made one last desperate attempt at manipulation. "And Claire? Did you talk to Claire? You're going to destroy your sister's relationship with our entire family over a mistake I made. You know how fragile she is, Anna. Don't involve her, please, for Mom and Dad." "Claire confessed everything, David," I revealed, watching the fear in his eyes multiply. "She told me about the cabin. And no, I'm not destroying her life. You both already did that. I'm choosing my life. The truth is going public. I've already spoken to my lawyer, and she has everything. You are being served tomorrow." He tried to grab my arm. "No, I'll give you anything. I'll sign everything. Just don't tell the kids. Don't tell my parents, Anna. That will actually kill them." I pulled my arm away. "Too late. You made the decision to risk that 10 years ago. Now, face the consequences. You have an hour to pack a bag. Get out." David left that night, his head bowed, carrying a single duffel bag. The man who had entered whistling left a broken shell. The house, our perfect, stable house, suddenly felt cleaner, lighter. The fallout was immense and agonizing. The divorce was not quiet. The lawyer used the emails and Claire's sworn testimony to secure a favorable settlement for me, including a large portion of his future earnings, citing emotional abuse and intentional concealment of adultery. David's attempts to hide the truth were futile. The real devastation, however, was familial. When the news finally reached my parents, not from me, but through David's desperate attempt to smear me to them first, my mother collapsed. My father was silent for days. Their perception of David, the perfect son-in-law, was irrevocably shattered. My relationship with Claire was the hardest blow. My parents initially sided with David, believing him when he claimed Claire was the temptress and I was the vengeful wife. It took time and the cold, hard proof of the emails for them to see the truth. They were horrified, not just by David, but by Claire's participation and her silence. It took a year for the family to mend. Claire and I spoke only through text for months, and only about the children. She lost her place as the fun aunt for a while. The children, bless their innocent hearts, simply missed their father and wondered why he was living in a terrible, tiny apartment. My mother eventually apologized to me, tearfully admitting she'd been blinded by her image of stability. My father remained cold towards David, but the damage to his health was visible. The entire experience changed me. The stability I once worshipped now felt flimsy, a potential hiding place for lies. I realized that my desire for a perfect, secure life had made me blind. I never got the sapphire pendant back. It's still somewhere under the sofa or a piece of furniture, a cursed object. But I kept the emails. They are now printed, framed, and stored in a safety deposit box, not as vengeance, but as a permanent reminder of the difference between an utterly hollow life and a painful but honest one. I eventually sold the big house. It was too filled with the ghosts of the lies. I bought a small, bright condo where I am raising my children, focusing on building a life that is true, not just stable. I learned that the greatest love of my life was not a person, but my own self-respect. And for that, I had to destroy everything.